And I want to say this about you, Pat. Pat, you talk good. And that's why we have this chat with Pat. And
Maybe not today.
It is time for a chat with Pat.
Well, today we have with us Dr. Roger Nutt. He is the Provost at Ave Maria University, where he also serves as a professor of theology. And he co-directs the Aquinas Center for Theological Renewal. He's also a member of the Academy of Catholic Theology. Welcome, Dr. Nutt. How are you today?
I am doing really well, Pat, and I'm super excited to talk about Catholic education with you, or I should say chat with you about it.
Well, I love your response to Pope Leo's a new apostolic letter, Drawing New Maps of Hope. You start out right away, and you say, there are reasons for celebration for us in Catholic Ed because of this document. So can you tell us the reasons that you found in this document that certainly gives us cause for celebration?
Sure. To cut to the chase, what I think is unfolding is that God teaches us in real time through the hierarchical ministry of the Church. And what we have with the Holy Father's recent document, which was issued in the last week in October in conjunction with the 60th anniversary of the promulgation of Vatican II's Declaration on Catholic Education, is that the Church is reminding everyone, priests, bishops, parents, students, that Catholic education, serious, faithful, committed Catholic education, is not just an extrinsic activity that the Church occasionally engages in, but from her very beginning has been an essential part of her missionary and evangelical mission. So we're being challenged to assess and reflect on the degree to which we understand that a commitment to education for educators or for pastors or for parents or students is something that God calls us to as an essential part of being members of the Church.
Oh, yeah. And he points out, Pope Leo points out that we are Catholic Ed is in a difficult setting right now. What do you see the difficulties for Catholic Ed being?
So I see the difficulty as really being one of understanding how much of a resource the great tradition of Catholic liberal arts education is in the face of the digital promise or the digital challenges and the challenges of over-specialization that we face today. So schools and educators and parents feel like they're forced with a choice between leaving the faith behind in education and really diving into the over-specialization in study. In K-12, it's often pressure to really go all in on STEM and maybe cut corners around the humanities and the religion courses. And in higher ed, it develops a kind of silo mentality where there isn't a lot of overarching principle governing the work of education. And the Holy Father so beautifully says that even though we face new challenges, the basis for the mission of Catholic education remains the same, and that's the human person's capacity for truth. So as long as we are focused on the fact that the Church's teaching office is tasked by Jesus with forming people and transmitting the fullness of truth, then we can face these difficult challenges in a way that brings clarity and coherence. But if we don't rely on this great patrimony and we allow the challenges to dictate the agenda, then we lose the central gift that we have to pass on to students.
So do you find that maybe the Catholic education's role in evangelization and proclaiming who we are as Catholics, sometimes Catholic schools back away from that and then say, well, in a spirit of ecumenism, we don't want to put our faith out there as the faith. Is that kind of have you experienced that, or do you see that?
I do see that. There's a desire, sometimes it's called a status envy, of Catholic schools to portray to the world that they are just like every other school. And I also think, and the Holy Father mentions this a little bit in Drawing New Maps of Hope, that the purpose of education is redefined in terms of skills or outcomes. In K-12, yes. It's often the standardized test challenge. Yep. So rather than focus on the core mission of transmitting the truth and knowing with 1,000 years of wisdom that that is fruitful and leads to good outcomes, we often focus on procuring the outcomes while sacrificing the truth. So I think that there's a little bit of a tension between trying to keep up with secular trends, which right. causes educators to lose confidence in just how fruitful, robust, faithful Catholic education really is. In fact, I know, working here at Ave Maria University and seeing the great impact that our students are having, and the law schools and med schools and all of the great things that they're doing, that Catholic education is better than its secular counterparts because we're able to give our students more, not less, than an education that cuts off the full vision of reality that a Catholic education is able to provide. So sometimes we get duped into thinking that we have to sacrifice the great gift to aim at some of these external outcomes. And just like anything in life, if we trust that aiming at the right thing will be fruitful, then our education institutions can be renewed. And that's really what Pope Leo is challenging us to do.
So how do you approach Catholic education so it's just not a regular university or a regular school that just happens to have a theology department?
The easiest way to answer that question is that you have to integrate two things. Some schools think that if you have some Catholic people, like let's say theology teachers, that that's really all you need. And some schools think that if you have Catholic things, like chapels or things on campus, that that's all you need. But the patrimony of Catholic education says that for a school to be authentically Catholic, you need both the things, the infrastructure, and the people. And if you don't have both together, the mission will be frustrated. So it doesn't do much good if you have a beautiful chapel on campus, but the truth isn't being reaffirmed in the classroom. And likewise, education is frustrated if we have good people in the classroom, but the culture of the school or the campus doesn't reinforce what is going on. And I think that's the challenge. The students learn a lot outside of the classroom, but when they're in the classroom, they need to learn the truth as well. And if those two aspects of the life of a school or a campus don't complement each other and work together and aim at the same formative goals, the efficacy of the education will be frustrated.
Oh my gosh, I could just talk to you forever. I've been in Catholic education for a long time, and battling the secular idea of education versus how we see it has always been a part. So thanks so much for being on today. I really appreciate it, Dr. Nutt.
Thank you for having me, Pat.